Hello, in this video we are going to be talking about the simulation, and I'm going to give you my opinion why I don't think that we live in a simulation and why I think that this reality is basically real and it's not simulated. I am not saying that it's impossible that our reality is simulated, it is possible, but even if it would be simulated, I don't think that it is simulated in a way that many people think it is. I am not a scientist and I do not pretend to be one, so all of this is just going to be my opinion, and take this just as an opinion. So yeah, the main reason why I don't think that we are living in a simulation is that people who say that we may be living in a simulation or that it is highly likely that we live in a simulation, they automatically assume something that I maybe don't agree, or in which I am maybe 50-50, but they are 100% convinced it is like so. And basically it is that consciousness is generated by the brain, and when consciousness is generated by the brain, all you need to do is create something like a brain to simulate new consciousness and so on. But all of these people who say that we are living in a simulation of some alien species or something, they don't even take a slightest possibility that maybe consciousness is not generated by the brain, that consciousness is something which is prior, and in that case you may not create consciousness if it's prior. I am not saying it is like so, because I don't know, and to be honest, I am maybe 50-50 whether consciousness is just product of the brain and whole universe is just random material and nothing more. But I am equally open-minded, or maybe a little bit more, that consciousness is not generated by the brain, or not all consciousness is generated by the brain, that we are in some way souls, and that universe is not completely random, it's not completely material, but it is in some way spiritual. Okay, I would say, but I will get to that maybe we are living in a simulation, but the simulation, in my opinion, if it would be the case, is not coming from something material, like some alien civilization, or like some people say, some little alien in the basement is creating whole universe as a simulation. But I would say that if the universe is simulated, the simulation is coming from maybe something not material, maybe something spiritual, maybe from consciousness itself to learn, to grow, to have entertainment or something, I don't know, but yeah. Now, I don't remember, let me check, because I forget the name very quickly. Okay, so the guy who came with this idea of simulation, Nick Bostrom, maybe he didn't come with this idea like the first one, but he is someone who, in a modern way, come with this idea. And I have seen some of his interviews, and one was on Lex Fridman podcast. It was maybe 2-3 hours, and he was talking about this idea of us living in a simulation. And basically, he said 3 options. But none of those options, were the possibility that consciousness may not be generated by the brain, but yeah. Basically, he said that there are 3 options. First option is that the non-alien civilization, he basically assumed that alien civilizations are probably everywhere, and I agree with that. But basically that no alien civilization will ever come to the point that they are going to be able to create simulation. Basically that they are going to die, they are going to be destroyed before they will be able to get to the technological space where they can create some simulation and so on. Whether it's going to be some nuclear bombs or whatever antimatter bombs that they are going to have, or some asteroid or some global warming or anything, that basically universe doesn't allow civilizations to come to this place. That was his first option, in which we are not living in a simulation because no alien civilization got there to create the simulation. Okay? The second option, he said, is that these alien civilizations, or some of them, will get to the point that they can create simulations, but they decide, for some moral reasons or whatever reasons, that they are not going to build a simulations. Okay? I don't agree with this second option much, because I can imagine that some alien civilizations would get really advanced, and they would decide that they are not going to create simulations. But I cannot imagine that you are going to have million or billion or trillion alien advanced civilizations, and all of them are going to decide equally that they are not going to create simulation. I would say that there would be some exception that someone would make a simulation. But yeah, basically the second option is that these aliens, they will decide that they are not going to create a simulation even though they can. And the last option, option number 3, is basically that these aliens can get to that place and they created the simulation, and we are, a simulation of some alien civilization or something. There is something beside this consciousness thing that I don't like in this idea, in this theory, and that's basically he assumed that universe is real, universe is not simulated, because he was saying that universe is 13.8 billion years old, and we are a little bit late to the game because, we modern humans are here for a couple thousand of years, and that universe is real. Those aliens who came here first, they are real, but somehow we are not real and we are simulated. And this is something that I can't imagine. Like, some parts of the universe, some galaxies are real and they are not simulated, and other parts, other galaxies, they are simulated. Maybe I just misunderstood this, but in my opinion, if we are living in a simulation, then whole universe is simulated. I don't see as an option that some aliens were here before us and they are not simulated and we are. For me, if we live in a simulation, the whole thing since Big Bang is simulated. Our planet, our star system, our galaxy, all galaxies, if there are parallel universes, all those parallel universes, that everything in our universe, every single alien and everything is simulated and it's coming from somewhere else, you know? Because as I said, I just don't get it. Like, aliens came here first, they are real, and the galaxy which they live is real, but somehow we are not real or something. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. But basically, he automatically assume, and I don't blame him because, you know, science take like science is 100% convinced that everything is just material and nothing more. But he automatically assume that you can create a simulation because consciousness is product of the brain, and all you need to do is create something similar to brain, and boom, you have a simulation, you know? But what if consciousness is not generated by the brain, you know? What if consciousness is more? What if we are souls? What if consciousness is prior to everything, you know? What if it's not that the consciousness comes from the matter, but it's other way around, that everything comes from the consciousness, you know? If this would be the case, that everything comes from this consciousness field or something, you cannot create consciousness, you know, because it's prior to everything, you know? You may be able to create some kind of simulation, and that simulation will, you know, pick up the consciousness, but you didn't create the consciousness. You just created something that is picking up the consciousness, you know? So yeah, if my consciousness, if your consciousness, if there is field of consciousness which is prior to everything, then it cannot be simulated, you know? Maybe the reality as we see it, like some Buddhist or some of this religion, Eastern religion, they say like Maya illusion, and maybe it is, you know, that this whole world, this whole thing, this whole universe is just a simulation which come from something spiritual, from maybe, as I said before, consciousness itself, for whatever reason, you know? I need to emphasize that I am not claiming and I am not saying that the universe is spiritual and that consciousness is more than just the brain, because, you know, obviously it may be other way around, that indeed consciousness is generated by the brain, and if consciousness is generated by the brain, then it's more likely that we could be living in a simulation, because then, as I said, all you need to do is create something like a brain and you will have a new consciousness, and in this way you can create conscious things in your computer, and that computer can create conscious thing in its computer, and so on. But if I would have to guess, I am more open to the possibility that consciousness is more, and that's why you cannot directly generate consciousness, nor you can destroy consciousness, because I would say that it is something that don't come from this, you know, atoms. I think that consciousness comes from some other dimension or something that we, our technology cannot pick up yet. And yeah. So, I am not claiming anything, I am not a scientist, and some of you may be people who are like materialist, and that's fine. Universe may be that way, and so on. I just wanted to say that it seemed like none of these scientists and no one, when they talk about simulation or something, they don't even consider like 1% possibility that the universe may not be completely material, or 0.0001% possibility, like that automatically universe is just material and nothing more, you know? And I kind of don't like this, you know? As I said, I am 50-50, maybe 55 to 45, you know? But I just, you know, there is so much thing that we don't know about universe, and there is so much thing that we don't even know that we don't know. We have no idea how consciousness appears. We have no idea about these black holes. We have no idea how can something be infinite, like how can, is there a boundary in the universe, or it's going forever? How can it go forever? How come that there is something, like how come that there is nothing and there is something? Where did all of this materia came from, and so on? We don't know. So it doesn't automatically mean that universe is spiritual, but we should be open-minded, and yeah. So this was just my opinion. I am not claiming anything I don't know. Take it just as an opinion, and yeah. So let me know if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, and if you think that we are indeed living in a simulation or not. And if we are living in a simulation, if you think that simulation is coming from aliens, or it's coming from something spiritual, or it's not coming from aliens nor something spiritual, but from something even else. You know, something that we don't know, But yeah, thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and goodbye.